without Tavares, without O'Reilly, you're coming back from a West Coast swing, and Jersey's healthy and they can fly. And I think it was interesting, even if you just look at the minutes played, and specifically the 5-on-5 minutes. Now, Marner played 25:55 last night. That is a massive amount of time on ice. He had almost 7 minutes on special teams, right? He had a bunch of time on the power play, a bunch of time on the penalty kill. He scores that shorthanded goal, which was a beauty. But you look at just simply 5-on-5 ice time. Marner played 19:14 even strength. Matthews played 18:43. So basically, Keefe went to those two and said, you guys have to be horses tonight. Like,
why not?
You have to be horses tonight.
Yeah, it was kind of good for them saying, no Tavares, no O'Reilly. Hey, fellas, let's get her going here. And they did. They responded.
What do they do in Edmonton with Draisaitl and McDavid? Same thing. You need to win a game. You look at the ice time after. McDavid played 25 minutes, and Draisaitl was right behind him.
Yep.
Same thing.
Those are the two guys, right? Like, as good as Tavares is, as good as Willie is and has been, as good as O'Reilly is, you can filter down the whole team. The guys, the two straws that stir the drink here are Matthews and Marner. They have been since day one when they arrived. They continue to be today in terms of how good they are, what they're capable of doing, and where they are in their careers. Right? They're both mid-20s in their prime. They've both been through the ringer.
Matthews looked good right from the start last game. Oh, I know you were on the panel, but I'm watching the game thinking, okay, there's a clip O's probably going to pull of Matthews early on. There he is flying around again, and you could kind of see as the game, like it wasn't a slow build. Like he had his legs under him right away, which I thought was different than games that we've seen Matthews this year where maybe he hasn't necessarily had it. He had it right from the drop of the puck last night.
His best games, and I've watched every shift of that cat his whole NHL career. He has had some games, and I have a weird memory. I have a good memory, but like he played a game in Buffalo 2 or 3 years ago. I'm telling you, it was the best game he ever played. I might do a short story or a documentary on his performance that night because it was so good.
I'd like to see that.
Right from the drop of the puck, he had it all night long, and it was kind of like his first ever goal where he stripped the puck from Karlsson. It was like he was stripping pucks from guys. He got it back. He was physical in the corners. I'm telling you, it was his best game ever, and I might do something with that game later. But that's what you got to do, man, and that's what he's capable of.
That's the thing.
He's such a horse, and when he's moving and cutting through the neutral zone and getting after it in the corners, the guy's unstoppable. And people think I'm goofing around when I title him the second best player in the world. When he's dialed in, he is, and it's not even a question.
Well, I think I remember that game. I think he scored the OT. I think he scored the winner, didn't he? With it was like a 3-2 game in the slot.
I'm not sure, but
was that
all
the
I know
drop pass,
was
the Kasperi Kapanen drop pass to Matt, and it was that gross release.
I don't know. All I know it was in Buffalo, and it was 2 to 3 years ago, and he was just incredible. Like every time he stepped on the ice, and I fully understand you can't do that every night. You just can't, but you want to be clicking at a rate where that's coming up a lot.
Right, it has to, right? Like McDavid does it almost every night, and he's a freak of nature. But
he's
it's
getting pretty darn close, isn't he, Hazy B?
He sure is, and even if you take him out of it, Draisaitl's pretty close, right? And last year, Matthews was pretty close. And I saw this stat earlier, Terry Cochon tweeting out, that Matthews scored the winner last night. And he has 51 game winners in 464 games. Sundin is the franchise leader. He had 79 winners in 981 games. So you do the math on that. Like Matthews is now 28 game winners behind him, and he's played less than half the games that Matt's played. So
and you talked about McDavid bringing the A stuff the majority of the nights, and if it's not the A stuff, it's the B+. B+ button is activated, and that means you pick up an assist in the power play in the third period, and you score an empty netter, and that's your B+.
And his B+ is better than a lot of players' A+.
95% players in the league.
You know what I mean? But this kind of speaks to how good the Leafs are, okay? There's been nights where Marner and Matthews have not been what McDavid and Draisaitl are, but the Leafs are a better team, have a better record, right? And if, like, Marner's been unbelievable. He really has been. Like, we should be talking about him top 10 in the league easily, maybe closing in on top 5 players in the league right now. That's how good this guy's been. If Matthews is playing at that, like you say, second best player in the league, that does so much for this team. Like, it really does. With the year that Marner's been having, he's unbelievable.
Well, that's how it's built, right? Like, you put the whiteboard up, and you realize if you want to win, you need everyone in their slot to play as well as they possibly can. And that starts with your best guy, or else it doesn't work. It has to trickle down. You need your best players being your best players.